In this lesson, we'll look at rotating objects within Rhino. So we're going to go ahead and create a box for us to rotate. There are two ways to create the box. We can go up to the Solid menu and come down here and select Box and Corner to Corner Height. Or we can come down here and simply click on this icon to start the box command. If we look at our command line now, it's asking us to place our first corner of base. And we can go ahead and click anywhere on the screen, but I want a little more precision, so I'm actually just going to type 0 and then hit enter. And that will place the first corner at the 0, 0 coordinates of our construction world. Now you can see the command line is asking for the other corner of base or length. I don't want this to be too large, so I'll just go ahead and type 15 for millimeters. And you can see immediately it's added that 15 millimeter length. For the width, I'm going to enter 25, click enter. And then for the height, I'll type 30 and also hit enter. So now you can see we have a box built. The whole thing isn't visible in all four windows. So I'll just come up here and right click on this icon, which will zoom extents for all viewports. And now you can see we can helicopter around. And we have a nice box just built right off of the 0, 0 coordinates. So let's go ahead and look at applying a couple of simple revolves to this box. First thing I do is select the box, and I can go to Transform, and I can select Rotate, or I can come down here to this icon on the toolbar and click that. Now you can see immediately the command line is asking for center of rotation, and I can come down here, and I do have my snaps on at the moment. I have end and mid snap, so I can snap either here for the end or here for the midpoint of the box. I'll just go ahead and click here for the midpoint, and now it's asking for the angle or first reference point. So I'm just going to drag my cursor up, so I'll just hold down my shift key and that'll constrain me to a straight line. And then I click again, and now I can just drag the cursor around, and you can see that's rotating the box for me. Keep in mind it is rotating around this midpoint, as that was where I selected for my origin. I'll just go ahead and press Ctrl Z to undo that. Let's look at that again. This time I'll use a different place for the center of rotation. So I'll click again on my rotate, and this time I'll just click off the rectangle somewhere. Hold down the shift key to constrain myself to a straight line. And now you can see it's doing something very different as I rotate. It's moving away from that line because it's revolving around this point over here, which is no longer on the line. Ctrl Z to undo that. Now the command we're using at the moment is just a two-dimensional rotate. So since we're in the top viewport, it's rotating along our main construction plane. This would be the same as if I apply the rotate command within the perspective window. You can see it's moving around the same way. I'll just undo that. If I come down here to the front viewport and apply the same command, you can see it's moving very differently. Now it's moving at an angle to the construction plane. I'll just undo that again. And if I come over here to the right viewport, apply the same command, now you can see it's moving differently through that construction plane. Now you don't have to just drag to rotate. You can type an angle if you want something a little bit more precise. So I'll hit my space bar to reapply the command. I'll use my snap to snap to the midpoint. And let's say I want an angle of 35 degrees. You can see in the command line it's asking for an angle or first reference point. When we were dragging up before, that was giving a first reference point. If we don't click anywhere and we just type a number, say 35, that's going to rotate the object 35 degrees from that center point that we give it. And I can go ahead and apply that command again in this viewport. This time I'll try a negative 45. And if we come up here to the perspective viewport, you can see the object has really moved around. Let me go ahead and right click on Zoom Extents. And now the box is visible in all viewports. Now the box is on an angle. Let's look at what happens when I apply that Rotate 2D command again. I'll click one time to apply the command, once for the center of rotation, and I'll move around in the perspective viewport window. So you can see it's just rotating around this construction plane, much the same as if I just rotated it in 2 dimensions around the top viewport. Let me go ahead and Control Z that to get that back to where it was. There is an option to rotate this piece of data in 3 dimensions. If I go up to Transform, I can select Rotate 3D, or if I come down to the same Rotate command, but this time right-click on it. Now I'm in Rotate 3D, as you can see up here in the command line. It's asking me for the start of the rotation axis. There's a couple more things you have to pick to constrain the move with Rotate 3D, but it's not too bad. Let's walk through it. So the first click is going to be on this corner, and now it's asking for an end of rotation axis. This is different in the 3D rotate than it is in 2D rotate. And basically what it's asking me is to create another line, sort of like an axle for this part to rotate around. So for this, we'll keep it simple, and I'll just click right here on this end piece. So now if I move around in the perspective viewport, you can see this white circle that's being drawn, and you can see it's on an angle, and that's showing you the path this will rotate around. So we're no longer rotating right around the construction plane anymore. Let me apply that command again. We'll do a little bit different. This time I'll use a midpoint to confine my rotation axes. So now it's as if there's an axle across this point. Let me go ahead and apply a 2-dimensional rotate, just so you can see the difference again. So now I'll click here, constrain, and as you can see, the part will always move in relationship to the construction plane you're working from, be it the front right viewports or the top and perspective viewport. And that ends the lesson for rotating objects in Rhino.